I'd like to call the meeting to order. Do we have any special intentions? Okay. Okay. Councilmember Brannigan, or should I say Madam Mayor, would you lead us in a prayer, please?
I will. Can we bow our heads? Heavenly Father, we gather here this evening and we ask you for the blessings of wisdom. We ask you to bestow on us gentle hearts that we can know what's the best needs of our citizens, and bestow on us the gift of listening so that we hear what their needs are. We want to pray for our national leaders, that they have the courage and the wisdom to do what's right to get our country moving forward. And we want to pray for those families in our city who have recently lost loved ones, especially the families of the Helms who've lost Miss Barbara Helm, our longtime recreation resident, Red Bean Lloyd Searcy. We want to pray for Mrs. Joan Adolph, the mother of several Adolph boys who live here in the city of Kenner, and for the father-in-law of Teresa Hastings, Mr. Warren Hastings. We ask that you be with these families as they grieve their loss. And in a special way, coming off of our neighborhood we watch, we want to pray for all of those who serve our community and keep us safe. In your name we pray. Amen.
And we have a couple of special intentions.
I would like to also to keep in prayer the families of Mr. Ernest Michael Wesley, who was a employee with the City of Kenner Sewer Department for over 30 years. Michael passed last week. Not only was he a sewer employee, but a real good friend of mine, real good friend of the family, real good friend of a lot of people within the City of Kenner. Someone who had phenomenal institutional knowledge about the City of Kenner Sewer Department, someone that you, even though he retired in June, someone that you could call and get information. So on behalf of the entire City of Kenner, please ask you to keep in your prayers the Ernest Michael Wesley family. Thank you.
And also, I'd like to keep in your prayer the Daigle family. Mr. Ricky Daigle, the brother of Larry Daigle, passed away this past week. And I want to mention this to the public, that this is the fourth time that I've had to mention that a member of the Daigle family has passed away this year. So all of our prayers and everything go out to the Daigle family, Larry and his wife. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Black, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum this evening. Councilmember Brannigan will be serving as acting mayor this evening. In accordance with Council Resolution Number B14550, please be advised that all cellular telephones, pagers, beepers, and other devices of this nature must be deactivated or silenced throughout the council meeting. The consent agenda.
Motion by Councilwoman Black, second by Councilman Stagney. Please vote.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
Item 1 is approval of minutes, the regular council meeting of October 3rd, 2013. Item 2 is approval of alcoholic beverage permit applications. We have none. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. Item 3A is application number 1750-13, McAllister's Reunion Charity Event, to hold a public gathering for the purpose of a charity event to raise money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation on November 2nd, 2013, from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. in Laketown Park. Item 3B is application number 1775/13, Bundick Court to hold a public gathering for the purpose of a Halloween block party on October 26, 2013, from 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. in Kenner. Item 3C is application number 1776/13, South Lake Villages to hold a public gathering for the purpose of a block party on October 31st, 2013, from 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. in Kenner. Item 3D is an application number 1778/13, New Orleans Track Club to hold a public gathering for the purpose of October Fest 3-mile road race on October 19, 2013, from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. in Kenner. Item 3E is application number 1779/13, the Spring Ridge Academy to hold a public gathering for the purpose of a St. Jude Triathlon on October 18, 2013, from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. in Kenner. Item 3F is application number 1780/13, the City of Kenner to hold a public gathering for a purpose of a Kenner's Christmas Village on December 6th, 7th, 8th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 20th, 21st, and 22nd of 2013 from 5:30 to 8:30 in Kenner's Heritage Park. Item 4 is correspondence, reports from the mayor, CAO, or department heads. Item 4A is a report from Natalie Newton, Deputy CAO, regarding the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. This report will consist of an explanation regarding the application process and commitment requirements of those selected to the MYAC. Ms. Alicia Cowdery, who's proposed the idea, and her Legislative Youth Council Advisor, Ms. Sherry Bro, will be also in attendance to answer any questions.
Ms. Newton?
Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak a little bit about this initiative to target the next generation of leaders in Kenner and the youth of our community. We were approached a few months ago by a young lady who lives in Kenner with this proposal. It's very impressive, and she certainly made an impact on us and came to us with a wonderful idea to engage our youth and to help our young adults understand that they are of great value in our community. I wanted to go through the application process just to get it out to the public and speak about the benefits of this advisory council. It will give us a better idea of the perspectives of our young people and give them a voice in the community where maybe they don't feel like they have one. So anyway, just to go through the application process, if you go to our website, www.kenner.la.us, through the rotating banner on the homepage, you'll come to the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. Anyone interested in applying or finding out more information can click on that. It's the fourth banner. And scroll down, you'll find out about the mission, initiatives, and the application process. And all the way at the bottom, you can open an application. And in order to make it more, what I think is more friendly to the next generation, is we've also made this acceptable by electronic correspondence. Going through, it'll outline the initiatives and the purpose. Essentially, this is open to City of Kenner residents ages 14 to 19, attending a public or private high school or participating in a homeschool program. Must be a student in good standing and maintain good citizenship, have a strong interest in civic participation, government, and serving as a representative of Kenner youth, and be willing to actively search for and work toward community solutions. The application process is ongoing right now. Application period will close November 1st. Everything must be turned in by November 1st or postmarked if you're sending via post by November 1st. And the selection will be made by a committee which consists of Ms. Alicia Chowdhury that will serve as an advisor, who is the young lady who presented this to us. Her advisor, Ms. Sherry Bro, 2 members of the Economic Development Committee, and 2 members of the Mayor's Administration, who have volunteered to assist with this project. Any questions can be directed to me via email at myac@kenner.la.us. Those emails will come directly to me. That's also where the applications go, or you can call 504-468-7240. Just to go through the application, There's a spot for personal information on the first page. It consists of a short essay to be provided by the applicant, a parental consent, which must contain an original signature. Once it is signed, it can be scanned and turned in. That original document does not need to come via mail or anything if you're submitting electronically. And then 2 reference forms. A teacher reference form, which if you're a homeschool student, that can be your parent, if they are your educator, or any other person acting in an educator's capacity for you. And then finally, an adult reference form, any adult in the community that would be willing to, write you a reference stating how you would be a benefit to this council. I know I've given quite a bit of information, but I honestly think that the strongest push and the best advocate for this mission is Miss Alicia Chowdhury, who will come up and speak. I'd like to just let her present to you kind of why she came to us and her passion behind this Youth Advisory Council.
Thank you. If you could give your name and address for the record, please?
Yes. Do you want me to spell out my name?
No.
Alicia Chowdhury, 4213 Arkansas Avenue, Kenner, LA, 70065.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. How are y'all tonight? Good, awesome. Okay, so as Ms. Newton brought up, a couple months ago, I came to the mayor's office and brought up this idea for a mayor's council. And it was something new to him, and it was something pretty new to me because recently I joined the Legislative Youth Advisory Council, which is at a state level, and it's composed of 21 high school students who represent the congressional districts in our state. And I represent District 1 alongside a student from Mandeville High, and he is the president of the Legislative Youth Advisory Council, and I'm the vice president. So we have high standing, so we want to spread everything that we do over there to our local communities. And so that's why I took the initiative to come here into Kenner, where I've lived my whole life. Born in Metairie, lived in Kenner since the day I was born. Something that involves the youth, because I've been privileged to be involved with the the Legislative Youth Advisory Council, and I'm very involved with my student council, my youth in government at my school. And I'm a big fan of pioneering initiatives because recently, a couple years ago, I pioneered 2 clubs at my school, which involved government. They were the Model United Nations Club and the Youth in Government Club. And the Youth in Government Club, we practice a lot of what the legislation does. So we make mock bills and debate bills so we get familiar with our government. But I wanted the students of Kenner to be more familiar with their local government. And that's why I approached the mayor about the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. I've been blessed to be involved at the state level, but many students in Kenner haven't been blessed to be involved in their local government or even at the state level. So this is my opportunity to bring what I've learned to them. And there's so many benefits to the Mayor's Council. One, as Ms. Newton said, is to create civic involvement, which a lot of Kenner students believe, we don't have a voice because we can't vote. Most of us, almost all of us, aren't adults yet because we're still in high school. And so this is an opportunity for us to come to you at, for an example, a council meeting like this today and tell y'all what's going on in our schools, in our neighborhoods, in our communities. We could discuss things from anti-bullying to beautifying Kenner, anything and everything. And we'll come to you about issues that pertain to us. Like, we are a large demographic of your community, and now you have a voice of those students. And it also allows facilitation of students to communicate with city officials, which a lot of students and high school students don't believe they don't have that opportunity, once again, because we don't have the opportunity to vote. And this is just one way for us to do that. And America has a history of low political efficacy in the past few years, and so maybe this will increase the voting turnouts in the next decade or so, because if we round up a bunch of students who spread this to their friends and their cousins and their family, then we'll have so much more involvement of the youth in our community. And I just think it's a wonderful opportunity for these students because I've had the opportunity, but they haven't. And I know on the top of my head, I can think of at least 20 people who would want to do something like this because they're involved with leadership. And this builds your leadership skills, this builds your public speaking skills, and it builds networking, which is key for students like us today because we're going to go to college, and you want us to come back to Kenner. And so this is a wonderful opportunity for us to come back to Kenner after we graduate, get a job, and settle with our families here. I've lived here my whole life, like I said, and I love Kenner, and I know for sure I will be raising my kids in Kenner after I graduate from college, or whatever I do. If I go to graduate school after that, I know I will be back here at Kenner. So I just want y'all to push this initiative because, it's my baby. And I couldn't be here today without Miss Sherry Rowe, who's right back there, who is a previous advisor at the Legislative Youth Advisory Council. And she's opened my eyes to something like this because I heard about students in East Baton Rouge Parish, students in Terrebonne and DeRidder who have started things like this, and they've been so successful with it. So hopefully we'll have a successful Mayor's Youth Advisory Council here in Kenner. So if y'all have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Anything at all.
One moment. Councilwoman Black. You're on.
Thank you, Ms. Quadri. Wonderful presentation, full of confidence, full of knowledge. Our youth are our future, and I think everybody up here is aware of that. But all of us here got involved through civic activities. We all became involved in our community, with the civic associations, and wanted to do something that would make Kenner a better place. And that's why we ran, and that's why we're up here. We know that in schools now, they don't teach civics any longer. I loved civics. I was destined for this, I think, because that was one of my favorite subjects. So that's a great opportunity for you, any youth that want to join into this group. Will find out about how our government works, how our city works, anything about our budgetary process. It's a wonderful learning experience. So I just think that anyone who wants to get involved, if you pass through Kenner and you say, hey, I don't like this, or if something's happening and you don't like it, this is your opportunity to step forward and become involved and let your voice be known or let your voice be heard. So I'm going to encourage anyone 14 through 18 who seems like they are very much involved in different activities. If you want to have something done, choose a busy person. So that's probably what we're going to get, people who are involved in other things but have great ideas. I compliment you for your wonderful presentation, for your spirited attitude, and I just know that it will be a wonderful group that we can get together and bring something good will come out of this for our city. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Councilman Stagney.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Alicia, thank you for being here. I have to tell you, I love the excitement in your voice. How old are you?
I'm 17.
17?
Yes.
And you live in District 3?
I live in District
One.
What's your address?
4213 Arkansas Avenue.
That's 3.
Okay, so that's 3 now. Mr. Reno, you better be careful, because I'm telling you, she's not shy one bit. And listen, I think it's an awesome idea that you brought to this administration, and for this administration to take it and run with it. There are so many misconceptions and people who are disconnected from local government. And you're always taught, as Councilwoman Black said, civics, and that's almost always about your federal government. And there are so many issues that touch you in local government that most people don't realize local government is so much more important to your everyday quality of life. So I appreciate you being here. I love your excitement. You gave a great presentation. And I know the mayor has done some outreach to some of the high schools. My son attends one of the high schools. And out of fairness, and so nobody thinks that there's any insider trading, or whatever you want to call it, he's not going to apply, but not because he didn't want to, but because I thought it would be unfair if some other youth didn't have that opportunity. So thank you again for being here.
Thank
Great
you.
presentation by both you and Ms. Newton. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilman DeNapolis.
Gosh, what a ball of energy you are. And it's fresh to see that. Your confidence, the way you presented yourself, it's wonderful. And I can tell you that, what's been going on with Capitol Hill, people would run away from that sort of behavior. And you're going to run to this kind of behavior and make sure that things get better. And you're right, the youth is definitely our future. I mean, I was very young when I got started in politics with the young Republicans and things like that. So, and I'm glad to see there's a resurgence in that, because let's face it, we can all make this better, okay? And once again, I'm looking forward to this advisory council. I'm looking forward to giving you guys as much input, and hopefully you can put me to task as well, and I'm up for that, I hope. And once again, you know, when you get your first meeting, make sure, you know, the call goes out. We'd like to see you guys, really. Once again, keep up that energy. That is just wonderful. I mean, Jesus, you're like 95 octane. I mean, unbelievable. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
thank you.
Councilmember DeFrances.
Thank you, Council President. Again, you did just such a great job in presenting this particular project. When I first heard about it, I was enthusiastic immediately and started to think of students that I would like to recommend myself. I will tell you my background, perhaps you already know, has been in the teaching profession for 35 years, a long, long time. And to see your enthusiasm and to see your commitment says a lot. And I will tell you that there are a lot of young people that would like to get involved and do not know how. Now you've given them a venue where they can have their voices heard, and that's absolutely phenomenal because so many people are disenfranchised and have nowhere to go. Now they have a place to go to have their ideas heard. And, you know, we talk to adults a lot as council people, but often we don't get the opportunity, at least not like I used to talk to students and hear about their ideas. And many times you all have such fresh ideas and a totally different outlook than an adult might have. And you know some of the problems that we have in our community that involve our students, and we have to address those problems as well as the problems of the adult. So now we have a way of communicating and with you all and finding out what needs to be done. And so please never hesitate to call. I'm always open, my office, anytime. All you have to do is call, and I promise I'll get back to you. And if you need me in any way, shape, or form as a resource, I'm here for you. And again, thank you for doing this.
Thank
I think
you so much.
it'll be a tremendous asset to this community. And one more thing, I'm so glad you said you want to come back to Kenner. So tell us what you need us to do to make it the kind of place you want to have your children be raised in this environment.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Alicia, thank you for coming today. Thanks for the presentation. Did a fantastic job. What high school do you attend?
Haynes Academy. It's in Metairie. So I'm a Metairie student who is promoting this for Kenner students because do we really have a high school in Kenner? So this is allowed for all the students who reside in Kenner but go to high schools all throughout New Orleans. So we can bring up issues maybe in another city that they're doing something positive that we can bring to our city.
All right. That was a good segue to my next question, because I attended Bountiful High School. Part of it's in Kenner. Part of
Exactly.
it's not in Kenner. So it's just one of those things. But your enthusiasm is great, and if you intend to follow your heart in this type of environment, that's gonna do you well to have that type of enthusiasm. I also want to ask the question, has, like Councilman Stagney said, that his son high school had to receive the information. I have a son too in high school. He hasn't shared that with me. Not that he shared a lot with me, but he hadn't shared that with me. The question is, has all of the high schools in the greater New Orleans area received this information about this program that the mayor and the council are?
I can answer that question. 19 schools in the New Orleans metro area were contacted.
Okay, I'd like to get a list of the 19 schools just to be sure, because, you know, Councilman Stagney said that his son is not participating because he want to ensure everyone is given a fair opportunity. I think that's what should be done. We want to make sure that every school get an opportunity. And I'm not saying that my son or his son or any one of our sons may participate, but I don't think they should be excluded to have a chance to do it, as long as the playing field is fair for everyone, to ensure that everyone receives an opportunity. I think that should be the criteria for it. And once I receive that information, I like to check it, and just to see that the majority of the schools have had the opportunity to receive the information. And if not, who should we contact if there's a school that for some reason that I happen to know of that's not on there? Ms. Nail, who should we contact?
You can contact me.
Okay.
I can get in touch with, if you have a contact person at the school and they say that, what we did was we called all around the area high schools and requested 2 parties to be contacted in that regard. They were sent emails, correspondence. I had read receipts from them, so I know that they received the correspondence. And if I didn't get a read receipt, we did a follow-up phone call.
Thank you. And, you know, we just want to make sure, like you said, there's children go to school all over the area, and we just want to make sure that everyone, all of our Kenner students get an opportunity to participate. And, again, thanks for coming, thanks for the enthusiasm, thanks for being part of this process. Wish you well in the future, good luck, and if there's anything that Everett can support with, please feel free to give District 1 a call.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Alicia, please ignore my back. I'm used to being able to see everybody, but I wanted to tell you that you did a wonderful job, and I also want to support you and this organization in any way I can. Many years ago, I want to say it was 12 or 15 years ago, we had a youth advisory council for the city, and it was, but I will tell you the difference was that I had teenage children, so I recognized what types of activities they needed to get service hours and what types of things they needed to do. So we formed this organization. They had a lot of opportunities to do that, but it was from a mom's perspective. And so it was things that I thought would have been of interest to them. And eventually it evolved, and the kids were able to give insight into what was important to them, and we did a lot of great things. And then the storm came. And so but I will tell you, I'm still in contact with many of the kids that were in that youth advisory council. But one thing that you said, and Councilmember DeFrancis picked up on it too, that is more important today than it was 15 years ago when we did this, and certainly the 7 years ago when the storm came, is that we want you back and we want you to stay. Because, my kids are now grown and none of them live in the city of Kenner anymore. Which is not so sad, except that they have my grandchildren, and they don't live in the city of Kenner. So that's what's so difficult, is to watch our families grow and age and move to places where, at this point in their life, their life takes them or their jobs take them. So this mayor had formed this Economic Development Committee where we have been trying to make initiatives in the city to do things to keep people here, and this is just an extension of that. So I really want to applaud the mayor for latching on to your idea, running with it. I want to thank Ms. Newton. I know it's going to be a difficult job to sort through what will probably be a very talented pool of children who apply, but it will certainly be worth it, and hopefully there's some things that we can offer to you that will give back to you for having brought this to us. So we want to thank you. We applaud your efforts, and I'm just delighted to see what's to come. And I'm going to take you up on that you're going to be raising your family here. I'm going to keep an eye on that. So thank you so much for having the desire to serve our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great presentation. Thank you so much for bringing this, to the mayor, and thank the mayor for, for his efforts in doing this, and you too, Natalie Newton. Appreciate it. So thank you.
One more thing in closing, I just want to mention that we did do a film spot. KTV did a special report, which is going to air on Kenner Television Wednesdays at 6 p.m., Saturdays 9 p.m., and you can view it anytime on their YouTube page. And it does provide a lot of information for those seeking more information on what the Youth Council will do. Also, I wanted to mention the commitment requirements. It's to attend at least one meeting a month. There will be community service projects. We haven't defined the number of hours required to remain in good standing, and part of that requirement is also to attend council meetings quarterly.
All right, thank y'all so much. Thank you for having me today. Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Item 5 is acceptance and rejection of bids requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. Item 5A is a resolution accepting the responsive bid received from LAS Enterprises Incorporated in the amount of $2,786 to furnish and install motorized roll-up garage door at Building C storage area in accordance with telephone bid number T13-2102 for the Department of Public Works. Item 6 is change orders requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. We had none. Item 7 is acceptance of committee findings for final passage. We had none. Item 8 is re-subdivision ordinances for final passage. We had none.
Motion by Councilwoman Black, second by Councilmember Rayno. on the consent agenda, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Under the public appearance agenda, we have item 9, public hearings for final passage. Item 9A is a public hearing regarding resolution number B 16376, a resolution authorizing the City Council for the City of Kenner to hold a public hearing to determine whether or not the building located at 2001 Kentucky Avenue, Kenner, Louisiana, should not be repaired or demolished.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Black, to open public hearing. Council members, please vote. We are now in a public hearing. Anyone in the audience wishing to, oh, wait, before, I have to let,
Let me call your vote real quick. Mr. Chairman, your motion passes 6-0. And
Mr. Conley.
Yeah, I'm going to handle the presentation. All right, the structure in question is an elevated structure approximately 10 feet high on pilasters, bearing the municipal address at 2001 Kentucky Avenue. The property is owned by Mr. and Ms. Noel Tillier. On September 9th, 2012, a building permit was issued for the renovations. The last building inspection performed at this property occurred on October 9th, 2012. On April 23rd, 2013, a notice was forwarded to the property owners regarding the expiration of the building permit. Subsequently, it was determined that the property located at 2001 Kentucky Avenue was unsafe and dangerous under the building codes for the City of Kenner, as well as Section 5-57 and all of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Kenner. On May 7th, 2013, a notice was sent certified mail to the property owners advising them of these property violations. Mr. and Ms. Noel Tillier was sent a notice to appear before this council on the 15th day of August, 2013 by certified mail, which was signed. It is noted by the report of the engineer retained by the City of Kenner, who provided the following reasons of inadequate maintenance, dilapidation, and abandonment. The structure was under construction, but construction was halted. Structure has been framed up on the first and second floor. Plywood sheathing has been installed on the first floor, providing some lateral stability. A temporary diagonal 2x4s are installed on the frames of the second floor. Tarps are covering portions of the structure. Framing members and sheathing have severe signs of weathering. Fencing of various types are installed around the perimeter of the property, but the fencing is not very secure. Construction material is being stored under the structure of the ground floor. Construction platforms are located on the north side of the structure. Based on the report of the engineer, the structure poses a safety hazard due to the condition of the security fence allowing access to the construction site and working platforms. Furthermore, we recommend that the city take the steps necessary to declare it a public nuisance and have it brought up to current codes and standards. Also, with no protection, the framing members will continue to weather over time and at some point rot and ensue, and its condition could worsen to the point where it becomes structurally unsound and a danger to the neighborhood.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on this? Can you please come up and state your name and address, please?
Reba Touye, 2001, Kentucky. I have a letter from a mortgage company saying she's working on my loan, which of course the VA, we're having a VA loan, but they can't get information because of the government shutdown situation, which is now reopened, so she's going to start getting it. So, but it had to do with the DD 214 and getting the eligibility certificate and such. But she's working on this. She's been working on this for 2 weeks now.
Does anybody have any questions?
I don't want to demolish my house, and it's not abandoned. I don't know if y'all know the definition for the word abandoned, but it's just, I pay my taxes. I come cut the grass. I pick up the trash. My neighbors pick up my trash. My daughter comes out. It's not abandoned. We're not going to abandon it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is anybody else in the audience that would like to speak on this? Okay, motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Black to close public hearing. Please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0.
Councilmember Stagney?
Motion to approve. You gotta say motion to approve.
Thank you, Madam President. We heard this case about a month ago when it came to us. This property has been
Excuse me,
abandoned for,
Sorry.
We're going to put a motion on the floor for approval real quick. Go ahead.
Motion to approve?
Motion by, it'll be
I'm
Councilmember
sorry.
Stagney, second by
Councilmember
Councilmember
Stagney,
Black.
second by Black.
Go ahead.
Approve?
Go ahead, Councilman.
all right, thank you, Madam President. Mr. President, Madam Clerk.
I did it too.
We heard this property in this case 1 month ago, and this property has been in disrepair for many years, and this is the second permit that they've gotten. It's an unusual structure within the neighborhood, but we've had engineers go out and look at it, and as the city attorney / code director said, this is unsafe, it's a public nuisance, and it's dangerous to the surrounding neighbors. And I can tell you, if you lived next door to this, you would not be happy with it. And we received complaints. We're acting upon that. The city has gone through all the due process that it can go through. I'm going to recommend that the structure in question at 2001 Kentucky be repaired or demolished in the time allotted by law. And Ms. Touye, just so you know, we gave you 30 days. The time allotted by law with the advertising and the publishing in the paper and the time that something becomes law, that's about 17 days. The time allotted by law is 30, so you're looking at about 47 days. Is that right, Mr. City Attorney? Okay. So it's about 47 days. If that property is still in disrepair at that point, the city will take any and all action to demolish the structure. Our city attorney is also the code director, and if you get information regarding your loan and take steps to mitigate the dangerous and unsafe conditions over there, I would ask you to contact him directly, and then we'll work through those issues as they arise. So my motion before this body is to repair or demolish in the time allotted by law. Thank you, Mr. President.
Hearing no other discussion?
I need a second.
Oh, sorry.
You had a second on the floor. It was motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Black.
Hearing no other discussion, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, your motion passes 6-0. Item 9B is a public hearing regarding Resolution Number B 16402, a resolution authorizing the City Council for the City of Kenner to hold a public hearing to determine whether or not the building located at 2309 Kenner Avenue, Kenner, Louisiana, should not be repaired or demolished.
Greg?
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black. To open a public hearing, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0.
We are now in a public hearing. Anyone in the audience wishing to address or speak after the presentation and can come up. And Mr. Conley.
The structure in question is a structure on a concrete slab bearing the municipal address of 2309 Kenner Avenue. The property is owned by Ms. Vera Francis. On February 25th, 2013, a building permit was issued for renovations. The last building inspection performed at this property occurred on November 20th, 2012. On June 6, 2013, the notice was forwarded by certified mail to the property owner regarding the expiration of the building permit and was signed by Michael Adams. Subsequently, it was determined that the property located at 2309 Kenner Avenue was unsafe and dangerous under the building codes for the City of Kenner, as well as Section 5-57 and all of the City Code of Ordinances for the City of Kenner. On March 26, 2013, notice was sent certified mail to the property owner advising of the property violations, and it was received and signed for by Michael Adams. It is noted by the report of the engineer retained by the City of Kenner who provided the following reasons of inadequate maintenance, dilapidation, and abandonment. Utilities have been disconnected. The roof was recently covered with a blue tarp, but the tarp has now been blown out of place and is not covering the roof entirely. The boards covering the garage door opening are now gone, thus allowing access to the interior of the structure. Portions of the roof framing near the garage door now have signs of rot. Portions of the roof structure for the southeast portion of the building are collapsed. The remaining roof sections in the southeast corner are still attached precariously. Based on a report of the engineer, the structure poses a safety hazard due to the current condition of the structure. Based on his visual observations, the structure is a serious public hazard, and we recommend that the city take the steps necessary to declare it a public nuisance and have it abated by demolition or brought up to current city codes and ordinances. The city should note that the roof structure at the southeast corner is structurally compromised and is in imminent danger of collapse. We recommend that the city take the steps necessary to declare this portion of the structure a public nuisance and have it abated by demolition.
Thank you, Mr. Conley. Anyone in the audience, would you please come up, ma'am? State your name and address for the record.
My name is Vera Francis, 2309 Kenner Avenue, Kenner, Louisiana, 70062. I'm in the process of selling the house. At the time, he's talking about the what you call those, the time he was talking about repairing the house, the lady was in the process of buying the house and repairing the house. And she got a whole lot of static about the house, you know, being repaired, you know, like with the word is not coming to me. Permits, per se, permits needed to repair the house, and it was, they said that she had to have all kind of requirements. She had an engineer to come out there, and he did define that the house was, the structure was sound, okay? And then they came back to her with stuff that she needed to do when she backed out. I also have an agency, Kelly Market, and they're trying to sell a house now. I did get a sale, but again, the young man spoke to the agents about the permits, and that he did not know the extent of the permits to fix the house. So he backed out.
So the home is currently listed.
Yes, sir. Yes, it is.
Okay. And how long has it been listed?
It's gonna be listed for 6 months.
How long has it been listed?
Thus far,
Yes.
4.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Francis, could you please just step back up for a couple of minutes? A couple of questions I'd like to ask.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Francis. Obviously, this home is, I'm no professional engineer or contractor, but just based on the pictures shown, there's a lot of work to be done to the home, and I can understand your reasoning for maybe wanting to sell it as opposed to putting money into fixing it. And someone may have said that it's structurally sound, but I think the question that Mr. Conley and the code department is addressing right now, because of the safety concerns that we're having, which is the priority today. If you had a sale for it, obviously the person would probably come in and knock it down and rebuild it. And that way, the safety concern would be down the road. We wouldn't have to deal with that. But that's what we're dealing with today. And you've had 2 different opportunities, or maybe more, to sell it, and each one has fallen through. Maybe no fault of your own, but they have. So where we're at today, the question is, do you have the ability to, and the resources to demolish the home? Because you're selling mostly for the property, I'm going to assume, as opposed to the home itself. Is that Is that your major concern, to be able to get the funds necessary for your property? Is that what you're trying to do, get more for the property than for the home?
Yes, sir. I'm trying, I'm trying to do is to sell the house, because if you demolish the house, then I can't sell the house. It'll be a lot. So if I can get the house sold, they can do what they want with it then. I mean,
Right, and I mean, as far as having a plan, if you'd have come in today with more of a plan, well, I'm going to sell it tomorrow, and they're going to do this, we have plans and resources, I don't think we're there today. And quite frankly, you haven't given any indication that you will be there in a reasonable time. Unless I miss it. If I have, then please enlighten me some more with some more information about your plans to be able to do this in a successful manner and timely manner. Because I haven't heard that from you today.
sir, what kind of time are we talking about?
Well, because it's a safety issue, time is
Yes.
the most important thing. And tomorrow, or tonight even, the safety aspects of it kicks into place. And we as a city have to ensure the safety for people, especially for, I grew up in that area. I know the house very well. People ride bikes past it. People can go in there, and some people do some bad things in properties like this. So that's where we're at today. Without any type of plan from you to say that you were either going to tear the house down and have somebody coming in to address those, I don't see where you leave me much room but to take the recommendation from the code department on.
Well, sir, you asked me a question in that you stated, do I have the resources
Yes, ma'am.
in which to demolish the house? The answer is no, sir.
Yes. And
Okay.
you're not the first person that we've had to deal with this with, and I've also have had the opportunity to speak with some gentlemen that live in the city and actually in District 1 that actually help families like yourself who economic resources are not as much as required that we as a city would charge to get it done. I'm not sure what your resources are to have, if any, but that's all I can see now to see if that is a possibility to give you with a reasonable amount of time to see if that is possible. And if I can get the support of my council to give you the reasonable amount of time required by law to do that, I think that would be fair to you at this point to see if there are resources that you or your family, and I can speak to the gentleman and also the company that's from District 1 to see about supporting you with tearing the house down, because obviously if you don't have enough funds to do that, to have enough funds to repair the house, you don't have that either. And I know you don't want to tear it down, but it is a safety concern, and these are some challenges that you may have to address to be able to be successful in maintaining the property.
Okay. Another question then. The house is torn down.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, which means that I'm responsible for the maintenance of the grass and what have you.
Yes, ma'am. After the house is torn down and all of the debris is moved away, you will be responsible to cut the grass.
To keep the grass cut,
Yes, ma'am.
okay? That's another issue. You know, and so when the city it does this, you have to come up with money up front?
Ms. Francis, I think there are a number of things, and as opposed to having you and I go back and forth, there are a number of things. I prefer for you and I to talk about this, away from this. We'll make a decision on giving a reasonable amount of time for it,
Okay.
and then we'll be able to see what path we can take to be able to be supportive. But as far as today, to be able to recommend a reasonable amount of time allowed by law to address this safety, and I'm going to repeat that again, the safety concern for the city.
Right.
I appreciate you to be able to come up here and talk about it. I know it's not easy to talk about, but I think that's what we're going to have to do. I'm going to ask the support of my council to give the reasonable amount of time, and we will be able to talk to see if there are some things we can do to support you on this.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Francis.
We have a few more questions, ma'am, if you could just wait.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember DeNapolis.
Ms. Francis, I believe that, question, you have the house listed, so you have an agent.
Yes, sir.
I mean, what did, obviously, I mean, this agent gave you some information about property and property values. What is the house on the market for? Did she tell you? Did she give you an idea? Or he, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yes, sir. She gave me a projected price, and I've brought it down extensively lower than that to sell a property.
All right,
Okay.
and you don't have, I mean, you don't have to tell me, I just try to get what your expectations are
Yeah.
on this piece of property, because obviously if your expectations are at a certain situation, I mean, I have to agree with Councilman Carroll, this is a dangerment, you know, and then I heard from you the question that if the house isn't there, what happens to the grass, and that's another issue. I mean, the problem is that part of ownership is responsibility, okay?
course.
And this stuff has to be maintained, okay?
Of course.
At all levels. I mean, I wouldn't want, that's why I'm asking, what do you, I mean, I mean, realistically, I mean, obviously, she's got a real estate license, or she is a real estate license. What has she advised you? I mean, has she advised you 10,000, 20,000? I mean, what value do y'all have on this property?
I can share that with you.
Can you speak in the
17.
mic?
17, sir.
17,000?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Understood. Okay, I'm just trying to make sure she's working. I mean, obviously, she's
Right.
got a license. I mean, because obviously, to list a property and not have a realistic expectation of what it could be worth or sold for at this time in the condition it is,
Yes.
puts us in a quandary here at the council, because I can tell you that this council has taken a very hard line on any type of blight in any district, whether it be council in District 1 or my district, District 5, okay? So I'm going to yield to whatever the councilman in that district decides to do with this situation,
Okay.
okay? But, I mean, I do want to make it clear from my perspective, and I think this council perspective, that whether a house is there or not, if this city has to go there and cut that grass, it'll be leaned, okay?
Of course, of course.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Black.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Have we heard this before? Has this been before us at any time, Mr. Hebert? Or because I have no backup on it. There's no pictures, there's no nothing on 9B. And I have no idea what the building really looks like. Does anybody else have any backup on this? Okay, because I didn't see it come up on the screen either. What I'd like to ask is just, if you give me 1 second.
Yes, ma'am.
I know this house because I used to pass there all the time as a young adult. I hate to see it being torn down. You do realize that if you were to just repair it in just even the grass, get rid of some of the grass, and it'd make it more appealing to anyone who wants to invest some money into it, because certainly that's a modest price if
Yes,
they
it
want to
is.
if they want to develop this property. But if you would give them an opportunity to see the real house by cutting down, investing a little money in it, and cutting the weeds and cutting the grass, and just as with Mr. and Mrs. Tullier before you all, if y'all show that you're doing something to the house within the prescribed time and that you're making it safe, but you can't complete it by the certain amount of time available, certainly the city, and I'm sure Mr. Carroll and Mr. Stagney would be willing to, to bend over backwards to try and help you. But when you let nothing be seen happen, that's when the problem comes in. So I just wanted to pass that on to you, because as Mr. What's your name again? DeNapolis said, you're going to have a lien put on that property, and it's
Ma'am.
going to even devalue it even more. So I'm just saying, to make it more presentable so that people could see the true value. If the structure in itself, if the base of the structure foundation is good, it's limited to limitless as what they could actually do. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that we up here are not trying to make you guys victims, but we can't let something go unlawfully happening in the neighborhood where there's unsafe conditions or nothing is being done to even resemble that you're trying. And so that's all I wanted to tell you, but I did not see the pictures, and the
Ma'am?
house has potential.
Yes, it does.
It just, and I hate to see it demolished, but if it's not going to be repaired and the hazardous conditions are going to continue, I have to vote along with the district councilman that, the city has to take some sort of stand in making it more a safe environment.
Ma'am,
So,
excuse me, I do have someone going out there to cut the grass. The city hasn't cut the grass in a long time. I've paid the fees to cut the grass, okay? And in the tune of $3,900, I paid that. Also, the other day, I paid them $9,900, excuse me, $906.58.
seems like 9,000, huh?
Yeah, so, I don't owe anything on the property at all. Owe nothing. That it's paid up. And I presently have a guy out there cutting the grass. But, like you said, to maintain the weeds and what have you,
Well, the area on top of the roof that's all covered with weeds, it looks like there's no roof. It's just a weed roof,
Yes, yes.
And so that would give them a little bit, more insight. But I'm going to go along with the district councilman on this unless you do something about it. There's
Okay.
nothing more we can do.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Councilmember DeFrances.
Thank you, Council President. I do have a couple questions after having viewed the video earlier. One of your biggest problems, besides what Councilman Black just mentioned, which is the overgrown, not just weeds, it's really bushes and wild bushes. That's one of the problems. The other main problem that I see, having heard you say earlier that an engineer did go out and say at least it's structurally sound enough to possibly renovate. However, right now, it is open to the public. It's totally accessible. You have a big gaping open area with no door, no garage door, no door of any kind. The windows are open. The first thing you would have to do to even get a chance to, renovate that building is to invest enough to secure it. You have to make sure it's safe. If you have open gaping areas, such as I just mentioned, it is not secure. Anyone can go in, start a fire, children could get hurt. So again, that's got to be your first step, is securing that building. So my question to you is, and we're not talking about big dollars as a first step, by the way. We're talking about, materials, possibly having family and friends who can help you secure it, investing a little bit, hard work in pulling some of those weeds and some of those, overgrown bushes that Councilman Black said. But remember, you have 47 days. Within those 47 days, if you can do some of these things we're talking about and come back to this council and show that, and to the city to show you're investing, your work in it, plus, like I said, making sure the building is secure and that you're starting to move forward in a positive way, then you have the opportunity to come back to the city and show us what you've done, that you've made progress.
All right.
But I'll be honest with you, unless we can show that progress, we as a council will have to vote with Councilman Carroll, because he's right. The community has to be safe, and we cannot ensure the safety of the people in that community if that building is not secure.
Okay.
And again, even if you secured it and did nothing more, then it still looks like a derelict building. So you've got to put some hard work into it. And that may buy you the time. I'm not saying it will. Depending upon what you can do, it might give you the time and the ability to possibly sell it.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Carroll, would you like to?
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Francis,
Yes, sir.
I know we all have said a lot of information. I think it's because I think we don't want to be seen like the bad guy, but there's some things we have to do. And I appreciate some of the comments, especially Councilwoman Black. She brought to our attention that this is the first time that we ever actually had to talk about your property and the condition that it's in. And that is something that should be taken into accountability because of, it is the first time. I think it would be fair to, whatever is the longest, the 47 days or a 2-meeting deferral, so you and I can talk starting tomorrow to be able to see how we can support this. And I would ask Mr. Connolly, for me to ask for a 2-week deferral, 2-meeting deferral or the 47 days, which one is, I prefer to get a 2-meeting deferral to get an opportunity to talk to Ms. Francis. I hope you can, understand the circumstances and to have a really good conversation and to see where we can go. I'm gonna change my original to say a 2-meeting deferral to have an opportunity to talk to Ms. Francis to try to support her, and then after that, if nothing is resolved, then to proceed forward with your recommendation.
And I would request that she be put on notice that she has to secure the property. As the council brought out, the garage is open. There's a mattress inside the garage. It appears people have been inhabiting the garage and board up the house so that the children in the neighborhood can't find their way in.
That's fair. Ms. Francis, so today, in order for us to go forward with the 2-week deferral, I'm going to have to ask your commitment to, if there's grass that needs to be cut, if there's some debris that needs to be taken away, or anything that can help with the overall safety of it and then habitation of people, for you to address that immediately.
Okay.
And I can get your,
Are you saying a 2-week deferral?
a 2-meeting,
2-meeting.
2-meeting deferral.
Okay,
So-
we're gonna, we'll go ahead
okay.
and close your public hearing.
Okay,
And then we'll
so
go ahead.
we have
and
a motion by Councilmember Carroll, second by Councilmember Black to close public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0 to close your hearing.
Okay, and then we have a motion by Councilmember Carroll for a 2-meeting deferral, second by Councilmember Black. Please vote on the deferral.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0 for a 2-meeting deferral.
If I could ask that she be advised this is the only notice she's going to get, that we're not going to send a notice to her that this is her only notice to come back.
Okay,
What's that meeting date?
can you come back to the mic?
November.
Yeah, would you repeat?
This will be the only notice you get to return 2 meetings from today,
Okay.
the second meeting from today,
All right, and
So
what
you-
date is that?
That,
November 21st.
Okay, okay,
At 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, okay, thank you.
thank you.
Okay.
Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda,
9C.
is 9C. Sorry. A public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,598, an ordinance levying the annual tax millage rates for the year 2013 totaling 17 51/100 mills on the dollar of the assessed valuation of all taxable property within the corporate limits of the city of Kenner, Louisiana on the 2013 tax roll.
We have a motion by Councilmember Black, second by Councilmember Reyno to open public hearing. Please vote. We are
Mr.
now-
Chairman, your motion passes 6-0.
We are now in a public hearing. Mr. McConnell.
Yes, this is our ordinance to levy our annual millage rates for our property tax bills that go out late November, early December. As you recall, the council adopted this same ordinance back in August, which was under our normal time frame. After that ordinance was adopted, we received information from the assessor's office that in the last legislative session, the state had changed some of the notification requirements that we have to follow in passing our millage ordinance. So we are going through this process again to comply with the changes that they made. The changes they made were that you now have to have at least 30 days from the time you issue notice to the time you actually vote on the ordinance, and you also have to make a verbal announcement at a public meeting that the ordinance is going to be voted on at a later date, and you have to have at least 30 days from that time to the time you vote on it. So we're going through the process again to make sure that we're complying with the changes in the state law. Everybody's had to do this basically because legislature changed the procedures and no one received any notification. So we're adopting the same ordinance again. It's the same rate that we adopted in August, the same rate we adopted last year. There's no increase or anything. We're just doing it again just to make sure that we don't have a problem with our ordinance when it goes up to the Legislative Auditor's Office.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on this? Seeing none, motion closed.
Motion, it would be motion by Councilmember Black, second by Councilmember Reyno to close.
Please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0.
A motion to approve by Council Member Black, second by Council Member Reyno. Please vote. Oh, we have, I'm sorry, Councilwoman DeFrances.
This is going to be very quick. I apologize. I just, in case someone did not hear Mr. McConnell when he spoke, this is strictly a procedural change. It is not, I repeat, not a millage change. And I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you.
Thank you. So we can vote now?
Yes, sir, you sure can.
Please vote. That's okay.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 9D is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 11,614, an ordinance revoking the dedication of the 15-foot wide alley located in Square 459, Highway Park Subdivision, Kenner Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, bisecting said square in a north-south direction bounded by 23rd Street to the north, 22nd Street to the south, Florida Avenue to the east, and Delaware Avenue to the west. Mr. Chairman, we've received a request this evening for a one meeting deferral.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Black for a one-meeting deferral. Council members. Oh, sorry. Please vote.
One more?
One more. We're voting on the deferral.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. We have none. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution reappointing Rita Bizou to the City of Kenner Planning and Zoning Commission for a 4-year term.
Motion by Council Member DeFrances, second by Council Member Black. Please vote.
Councilmember DeFrances
Oh,
would like
I'm
to-
sorry.
Real quick.
Getting ahead of myself.
Ms. Bazoo is my appointment to the Kenner Planning and Zoning Commission, and I want to thank her for her service thus far. She always prepares, she's very open-minded, and she doesn't allow anyone to influence her. And that's the kind of person we need on the Planning and Zoning Commission. And that's the way she has always handled herself on that commission, and I appreciate her service to the people of Kenner.
Thank you. Council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 13B is a resolution authorizing the City Council for the City of Kenner to hold a public hearing to determine whether or not the building located at 3310 Colorado Avenue, Kenner, Louisiana, should not be repaired or demolished.
Motion by Council Member Stagney, second by Council Member Carroll. No discussion? Hearing no discussion, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 13C is a resolution authorizing the City Council for the City of Kenner to hold a public hearing to determine whether or not the buildings located at 1034 31st Street, Kenner, Louisiana, should not be repaired or demolished.
Motion by Council Member Carroll, second by Council Member Stagney. Seeing no discussion, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 13D is a resolution stating the City of Kenner's interest in participating in the Louisiana Enterprise Zone Act, Louisiana RS 51:1781-1791, and designating eligible census tract block groups within the City of Kenner as Louisiana Enterprise Zones based on the 2010 federal decennial census.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilwoman Black. Please vote.
Councilman.
Oh, wait, we have to describe, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. Ms. Lacey Bordelon from JEDCO, can you come up? Okay. I'm going to let Mr. Stagney open first.
Thank you, Mr. President. This legislation, Ms. Bordelon wrote all of us regarding the enterprise zone under Louisiana Revised Statutes 51:1781, that there are a number of financial incentives and inducements for businesses in certain enterprise zones. There's a deadline date to get this up to Baton Rouge, as long as they sign a contract with the state that there are some depressed areas that could utilize these tax breaks. And I'd like Ms. Bordelon to come on up, give us a little rundown about this. And because this is mostly in low to mod, they go by census tracts, low to mod income areas, I'd like to get Councilman DeNapolis, who is on the CDBG committee, and Councilman Carroll on the legislation as submitted by. Ms. Bordelon, please give us a little history lesson on this.
Sure. Thank you. First of all, just a quick description of the Enterprise Zone Program for background. It's a state statutory incentive program for Louisiana businesses, originally designed to encourage investment and job creation in distressed areas, and those distressed areas are also known as enterprise zones. Enterprise zones are census tract block groups that meet criteria set by our State Department of Economic Development based on their unemployment levels, per capita income, and number of residents receiving public assistance. And LED is required by the state statutes to use that criteria in a formula to arrive at approximately 40% of all census tract block groups in the state are being eligible for enterprise zone designation. And as it stands today, according to the revised statutes for the program, which can change, with each legislative session, a business, if it hires a resident of an enterprise zone, it can receive the benefit of the program, which is a tax credit towards its income or corporate franchise tax liability. So the business actually doesn't have to be located in an enterprise zone to take advantage of the program, but it's about hiring people who live in those areas. And of course, this is done with each decennial census. The statutes require that LED will use the latest decennial census, since we've just a few years ago, had the 2010 census. LED has been looking at the criteria and applying it to the new block groups. And they arrived at a list of all of the block groups in Jefferson Parish that are eligible for that designation. So now it's up to the local governing authorities to pass a resolution adopting or designating those block groups as enterprise zones, and also agreeing to participate in the program.
And it's been a while since I've read it, but doesn't a business who would qualify have to have at least a 50% expansion within their employee base to qualify for this?
Actually, they have to increase their workforce by a minimum of 10% in 1 year, or create 5 new jobs over a 2-year period, whichever's less. Where the 50% comes into play is that 50% of all of their net new hires have to meet one of 4 criteria. Okay. One of the criteria is that their new hire lives within an enterprise zone.
Okay, great. We appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. President. They may have other council members that have questions for you.
Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Bordelon, one other quick question. I read where you sent the information, and thank you again for all the information, the heads up on this. And it was good to put out there that it not necessarily have to be in the area, but if the person lives in the area to receive the $2,500 credit. Is there a cap on the amount that a company can receive? Or if they hired 50 people, each individual will be able to receive credited to this $2,500?
Right, as long as the business meets the job creation criteria that increase their workforce by 10% or 5 new jobs over a 2-year period, and as long as 50% of all of their net new hires meet the criteria, then the business can get that tax credit for each net new hire,
That's good to know.
and
So
there's no cap.
there is no cap on, which is a good incentive to have more employees for the company to hire, especially people from the areas.
Right.
Well, thanks a lot. And how are we going to, is there a plan to put this on the internet or to market, I guess, for lack of a better word, this information to companies? Because as we know, there are a lot of things going on, especially within the buyout areas throughout the city. How are we promoting this to the businesses that are out there?
Well, sorry.
No, that's
I didn't
okay.
mean to cut you off. Well, as you know, JEDCO implements a business retention and expansion program. So we've met with 40, probably about 50 businesses so far in the city of Kenner, face-to-face visits. So those are opportunities for us
Okay.
to share this information. Also, through our website.
Okay.
And we get phone calls, various ways that we do business outreach. Networking at business association events is another one. So we are always trying to get the word out about these
Okay.
opportunities.
So when you say our website, you're including both
JEDCO.
JEDCO? What about the
Right.
City of Kenner's website? Can we link it, have a link to our website?
Actually, there may be a
is-
link to
is-
JEDCO on your website. I know there
Jed-
is to the
okay.
economic profile.
And that information is available through JEDCO, which is linked to our website.
That's correct. Actually, we do have information on it in the City of Kenner economic profile, which is posted on the City of Kenner's website.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Bolan.
Sure. Is
Thank
that
you,
it?
Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Bordelon. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I'd just like to clarify, Councilman Stagney, you said submitted by? Thank you. Okay, you can now vote.
Okay, council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda. We had none this evening. Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 11,615, an ordinance authorizing the purchase and installation of one thigh aerial device arm lift bucket and storage bins from Truck and Transportation Equipment Company Incorporated in the amount of $55,644, utilizing Jefferson Parish contract number 55-13771 for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Motion by Councilmember DeNapolis, second by Councilmember Reyno. Seeing no discussion, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 15B is summary ordinance number 11,616, an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Quality Court Industries LLC in the amount of $14,850 to remove the existing rubber safety surfacing and to furnish and install new pour-in-place safety surfacing at the Arizona Tot Lot in accordance with seal bid number 13-6172 for the Department of Parks and Recreation.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember Black. I want to just say thanks to Councilmember Black for participating in the cost to do this little project and replace the surface underneath the swings in the playground. And it's really in bad shape, so, and that's it. Council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 15C is summary ordinance number 11,617, an ordinance authorizing the utilization of the State of Louisiana Contract 408896 with Louisiana Machinery Company, LLC, doing business as Louisiana Caterpillar, to purchase one Malden asphalt paver in the amount of $60,325 for the City of Kenner Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilmember Black, second by Councilmember Carroll. Councilman DeNapolis.
Can I have Jerry come up and tell me what this equipment's going to do and how we're going to? Didn't mean to put you on the spot, but you were falling asleep over there, Jerry.
This is the, go ahead.
Go ahead, explain the equipment.
Well, this is the asphalt paver. Our existing equipment, we looked at the dates of it today. It's like over 30, 20-something, 30 years old. We have a paver and a roller. And what we plan on doing with this equipment, go to work and do a lot of patches throughout the city, especially on the asphalt roads. This is the spreader, and the second part of this is going to be the paver, the roller, rather. And then eventually, we just put out for bid for the trailer to put this equipment on to be able to move it around throughout the city.
All right, I mean, obviously, you know, when we have street repairs, I mean, obviously, you know, sometimes they get sizable. And of course, we have to subcontract that out to some of the people that we have, you know, contracts with. This equipment, tell me what kind of size project, so that when I look around my district, so I can keep you busy, okay? What is this equipment going to do as far as size,
Well,
project-wise?
most-
You're
most
talking about a 4x4 patch? You're talking about a 10x20 street? I mean, I'm just asking.
You can do a 4x4 patch, you can do a 2x2 patch, you can do a 26-foot wide street with this equipment.
Good. Well, I'm great. We really need this equipment. I've been spending a lot of money on streets, and you know, when we do it in-house, it's about a fifth the cost.
That's correct.
You know,
Absolutely.
That's what I'm looking at. So I'm
Absolutely.
spending $60,000 that may save me hundreds of thousands of dollars.
That's correct.
Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate it. I'll keep this piece of machinery busy. Thank you.
Thanks.
Let's wait 1 minute, Jerry. Councilmember Stagney. Oh,
Sorry. I'm gonna clear it. Can
Yeah.
you put your light back on? That's my mistake.
if,
There you go. I'm sorry.
okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now, Mr. DeNapolis is talking about asphalting his streets. I have 23 asphalt streets, and District 1 has a heck of a lot more than that. So I don't know if he's going to be putting asphalt over cement, but we are in dire need of this. We talked about this in the last 2 capital budgets that we had. Now, is the funding coming from the capital budget, or is this money left over within the department because you're under budget?
No, this is coming from the bond refinancing.
Okay, so we're bringing
We
it out of
intended
that.
to get some equipment out of the bond refinancing, so it's
Okay.
being done out of the bond refinancing.
All right. No, well, now that I know we're doing this, I'll get you the list of those streets and the ones that are in dire need of repair. And as you know, I've just spent $425,000 over the last
Year and a
several
half,
months,
yeah.
6 months to 8 months, on rehabbing a lot of those asphalt streets. So this is a welcome addition, and I know we can do it in-house cheaper than what we've been paying. So I appreciate that coming up. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilmember Black.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jerry, you mentioned that this is going to be a two-phase thing, so the $60,000, $325 that we're spending is not including the roller.
The roller's coming up next.
So how much is the roller?
The roller, I think, is $30-something thousand on the roller.
Okay, so we're talking about $100,000.
Yeah, by the time it's over with, by the time we get our trailer in, you're looking at about $120-something thousand total.
Okay. I just don't want any more blacktopping over concrete, please. I know it's cheaper. I know it's cheaper, but I just don't think, I can't imagine why you would put something over concrete when you know it's going to wear down and it's not going to last from original, such as what we're doing in a lot of sections in Kenner right now.
We certainly
So,
are.
Keep the blacktop where it's blacktopped and keep the concrete where the concrete is, please.
I got you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President, and Mr. Dillencofer. Based on Councilwoman Black's recommendation, whenever Councilman DeNapolis called, just put him in the back, because obviously he understands where the majority of the blacktop streets are, which is south of, you know, West Esplanade. So that being said, you know, this piece of equipment is not the biggest in the world. It only can do certain jobs.
Well, we can do just about everything that we have in the city that we need to handle with.
You can?
Yes.
So what will be a project that this piece of machinery could not do, so I can have some type of point of reference when I look at things that need to be?
West Esplanade is a big project that's going to be asphalted, that it wouldn't be able to handle that.
Okay.
We're probably going to handle just about everything you have in your district we can handle.
Okay, well, that's good to know. And when, after tonight, what are we talking about the schedule to receive this and have it all ready to go?
Well, I think we have the layover time, probably about a month and a half, 2 months to probably get the equipment in.
Okay, that'll give me a good time to do a good thorough ride over the city, the district, to see exactly.
Bear in mind, we only
prioritize.
have so many employees now that operate this piece of equipment now. We have so many districts, so we're not gonna be able to put the contract out of business too. So, I mean, we're gonna do the
No,
best we can with
and-
our equipment, but I mean, we're still gonna have the contractors out there.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to imply that. All I'm saying is that the majority of the asphalt, which blends well with old asphalt without any problem in District 1, to be able to get a good assessment of some of the areas, and the ones that need it more than others, it gives me enough time to do that. And you guys should be ready to go next year by the beginning of next year for sure.
You're ready to blow and go.
With the machinery.
One thing good is that the equipment's should not break down like the old equipment's been breaking down. And that's a part of our downtime, with getting streets done.
So the guys who operate the machinery now, they won't have to be retrained to operate this machinery?
Well, I'm sure there's some new functions on this equipment that they have to retrain, but I mean, basically, they know it. We brought them around while we were looking at the equipment.
Okay, that's
And
always
we
great.
had their input, an awful lot of their input on what equipment to get.
Okay, great. That's always the best. The people who are going to use it obviously
Absolutely.
need to have some type of
Absolutely.
buy-in for it. Thank you very much, Mr. Dillencofer. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilwoman DeFrances.
Thank you. Some weeks ago, quite a few weeks ago, Mr. Dillencofer, you came to this council, I know individually and as well, and spoke to us about the great need that you had, the Public Works Department had for this equipment. And we made a commitment, this council and this administration made a commitment to you that we would get this equipment. And this is our way of honoring our commitment, because commitments should always be honored. And so I'm delighted that I'm going to be able to vote for this
Thank you.
particular
Thank you very much.
And
ordinance.
Councilmember DeNapolis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one question, just so I can kind of clarify for, what Councilwoman Black said, because I don't want Blacktop getting a bad name, okay? How long does typically a blacktop, done well, done correctly, paved well, just so the people in our, you told me 15 years last time?
I would, go ahead, Jose.
Go ahead.
An asphalt surface, a good quality asphalt surface nowadays will probably last in the neighborhood of 12 to 15 years. The beauty about asphalt is that it's economical and it can be maintained a lot cheaper than concrete and a lot quicker than concrete.
What I like about it, it's smoother, less noisy with the cars, and I like how quicker you can repair it. Because I know we spend a lot of money repairing concrete now in Kenner. I know in District 5 and District 4 and District 3, you got West Esplanade now, that's all going to be blacktop. You got all of Loyola that's now going to be blacktop, okay? You got all of Joe Yanni that's all going to be blacktop. You got Chateau Boulevard that's all going to be blacktop. You got Vintage that's all going to be blacktop. These are major thoroughfares. If blacktop was a substandard material, we wouldn't be putting it on those places, right? Do I understand?
That's correct. But
Okay.
the perception out there is that concrete,
Right.
is better than asphalt. That's a perception that does not go away.
Exactly, and that's why I want to
But asphalt, it will give you a smoother ride, okay? Well-designed, it should last 12 to 15 years. And the beauty of the asphalt is that you can cold mill it and you can overlay it, okay? And you got a brand-new, fresh surface, and it can be done quickly and economically.
Correct, and I think that's what we need to, the message I want to send with my discussion is that that's not any less quality, it's going to be quality streets that we build with this machinery. Thank you.
Okay, I guess because I'll let Mr. DeNapolis speak twice, Ms. Black wants to speak twice.
We taking advantage of our rookie up here. I don't care what you say with all your experience. I'll take concrete any day, just like I would build a stronger house than an inferior house to be repaired later on. I'll take concrete any day, and just because it's cheaper doesn't mean it's best. And I think that if you ask most of the people in Kenner, they would agree with you. They preferred concrete streets. Now, can I go and do anything about it now since you've already done West Esplanade? No, I can't. But I'm just encouraging that we don't get on this precedent that we start putting asphalt, that's something that has to continuously be maintained. And in some areas, like the interstate, we've done it 3 times, where you go across in I-55 and you go on that bridge and that roadway, it's been there for 35 years and not one bit of maintenance. So I disagree, and that's my prerogative, I assume, but I'm not going to go down without saying that, and I think that I'm right. Thank you.
Mr. McConnell, I have one question. The money for this, and I guess the next item that's up, and the trailer and everything, you said that that's coming out of the bond refinancing?
Correct.
Is there any other money being used out of bond refinancing for equipment for the city?
Not at this time, no.
Okay. All right. Okay, council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 15D is summary ordinance number 11,618, an ordinance authorizing the utilization of the State of Louisiana contract 408751 with Louisiana Machinery Company, LLC, doing business as Louisiana Caterpillar, to purchase 1 Caterpillar asphalt compact roller in the amount of $37,870 for the City of Kenner Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilmember Stagney, second by Councilmember Carroll. Please vote. Oh, you wanted to speak?
Mr. Chairman,
I'm
motion
sorry.
passes 6-0. Item 15E is summary ordinance number 11,619. An ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Industrial and Mechanical Contractors Incorporated in the amount of $988,929.01 for the LS 4208 Grenada and Martinique Sewer Lift Station and Sewer Force Main Improvements Project in accordance with sealed bid number 13-6170 for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilmember Reyno, second by Councilmember Black. No discussion, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 15F is summary ordinance number 11,620, an ordinance accepting the responsive bid from RQ LLC, doing business as the Paper Folder Company, for an Auto Seal Formax FD 2032 pressure folder sealer with conveyor and an annual maintenance agreement in the amount of $9,878 for the Finance Department in accordance with telephone bid number T13-2054.
Motion by Councilman Stagney, second by Councilwoman Black. No discussion, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 15G is summary ordinance number 11,621, an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Centos Corporation Number 2 for an annual contract to lease uniforms in accordance with sealed bid number 13-6171 in an amount not to exceed $35,000 per year for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilmember Black, second by Councilmember Reyno. Seeing no discussion, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 15H is summary ordinance number 11,622, an ordinance approving supplemental agreement number 1 with State of Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development regarding the addition of non-concrete bus pads along 31st Street, Loyola Drive to Duncan Canal in an amount not to exceed $160,000 for the Department of Public Works.
Motion by Councilmember DeNapolis, second by Councilmember Carroll. Councilmember Carroll. Why is it coming up? Natalie, can you help me here? Oh, no, it's up.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Gonzalez, I just want to say, thanks again for you and for all of the finance people's support on ensuring that we dotted all our I's and crossed all our T's, because people needed confirmation that we were going to be able to support the bus pads along with conjunction with the path to progress, because it was two separate projects. We had to jump through a little hoops to ensure it, but we did it, and thanks again for your support. Again, I'm just going to ask, are we on schedule with the 31st Street improvements with the asphalt that we, have some, have a different opinion than Councilwoman Black about the asphalt? I think it's a smooth ride. I think it does, and you only won an award for it, your engineering, but,
Let me
I'm
say
teasing.
something about it. Going back to asphalt versus concrete, I mean, you can debate this, and different people are gonna have different opinions. Even among engineers, you're gonna have different opinions, okay? A well-designed concrete roadway versus a well-designed asphalt roadway in good soil conditions, most engineers are gonna pick up the concrete roadway, okay? But our soil conditions are not really that good, okay? So in most cases, an asphalt roadway in poor soil conditions will do better than a concrete roadway in poor soil conditions. But to get back to 31st Street, the work has started, okay? What's holding the coal mill and the overlay of 31st Street is the bus patch. This is a requirement from the state, a supplemental agreement to the agreement that we have with the state, okay, because this is a non-participating item, and you have been very instrumental in securing the local money, either through CDBG funds or your discretionary funds, to get this bus pass constructed. And that's what's holding the coal mill and overlay. Now that this is going to be adopted, I hope, okay, we can go back to the state, hand them the supplemental agreement, and then we'll be in a position next week to issue a notice to Barry to start constructing the bus paths. And that's what's holding the coal mill and overlay. So I'm predicting that within 2 weeks, okay, the bus paths we're gonna start working on the bus path, and then soon afterwards, we're gonna start doing the coal mill and overlay. They are working out there right now on handicap ramps and every one of those corners.
Thank you very much. And I'll be asking the support of my fellow councilperson to support this legislation tonight. I think, the bus pads will ensure that the sections at the bus stop, which is 8 or 9 stops going east, will have the bus pads in and will endure and last longer, the asphalt. And Councilwoman Black and I are just tease one another. And she's a old South Kenner girl also, so she understands that. But thanks again, and I also like to thank Community Development, Ms. Terrell and her organization, because she also had input with the funding for this also. So we look forward for the Lincoln Manor community and everyone that rides the Kenner Loop to have a nice, smooth ride. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilmember Annapolis.
Mr. Gonzalez, obviously, when it comes to Loyola Drive, these bus pads are actually going to actually take these buses off of traffic route so that when they're loading, they don't block traffic. Is that what I understand?
This particular bus path
Yeah.
is 31st?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, the primary purpose for the bus paths, the concrete bus paths on an asphalt roadway, is that when those buses stop, are not going to create a problem with the asphalt as far as rotting or a wavy effect, okay? And you see that a lot throughout Orleans Parish, on asphalt roadways, you see concrete bus paths, because the impact of the bus loaded, okay, over a period of time is going to have a tendency to impact the surface of that asphalt.
Gotcha.
Okay, on Loyola, okay, the section of Loyola between West Esplanade and Vintage, it was an all concrete section that has been overlaid. So there's no need for a bus pad there if there was a bus route there.
Right. Okay, just checking. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, sorry, Councilmember Black.
And the reason they have that for the buses is because concrete is higher quality than asphalt, and it's heavier loads. Thank you.
You good?
Okay, council members, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 15I is a resolution authorizing the advertisement for sealed bids for drainage improvements to University City and Audubon Place subdivision areas, Phase 1, Hooper, Galan, and Majority Drives, Millsaps Place, and Tulane Drive intersection outlets, State Project Number 20.010107 in accordance with the plans and specifications as prepared by the firm of Hartman Engineering Incorporated.
Motion by Councilman DeNapolis, second by Councilmember Black. Councilmember DeNapolis.
Mr. Gonzalez, I received some communication from you that basically this is just, the state's just asking us to put Phase 1 of the $3 million worth of drainage improvements that we're doing in University. We just put on a resolution that we're actually going for bid. Is that
That's
understand?
correct. This is not a local requirement. We normally do not do resolutions to advertise a project.
Yes.
We simply move to the advertisement process, but being that state monies are being used under the statewide flood control program, this is a requirement from the state that we must do a resolution authorizing the advertisement of the project, and this is Phase 1 of a 3-phase project.
I appreciate it. Thank you for explaining that. Thank you.
Any other, no? Seeing no other discussion, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 16 this evening is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance approving the sale of Blair Street between 3rd Street and Geneva Street between Blair Street and Minden Street, Hanson Place Subdivision, Kenner Jefferson Parish, Louisiana. Item 16B is an ordinance approving the plan of re-subdivision of lots 1, 2, 38, 39, and 40, squares 26, and Lot 12A2, Plot 12, Crestview Office and Industrial Park Subdivision, Kenner Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, into Lot 12A3, Plot 12, Crestview Office and Industrial Park Subdivision, Kenner Jefferson Parish, Louisiana. Item 16C is an ordinance amending Chapter 15, Article 2, Section 15-23 of the Kenner Code of Ordinances by the addition thereto and establishment of do not enter signs, one-way signs, no right turn, and no left turn signs on Main Avenue and Roosevelt Boulevard at intersections with 25th and 26th Street during school hours for the Kenner Discovery Elementary School. Item 16D is an ordinance declaring certain fire department equipment as surplus and authorizing the donation of said fire equipment for the sum of $7,900 in as-is condition to the Tangipahoa Parish Rural Fire Protection District Number 2. Item 16E is an ordinance approving an agreement with Digital Engineering and Imaging Incorporated for professional services in connection with the installation of a new force main from Chateau Transfer Station to wastewater treatment plant number 3 and an amount not to exceed $385,000 for the Department of Public Works. Item 16F is an ordinance approving an agreement with Hartman Engineering Incorporated for professional services in connection with the installation of a new force main from Chateau Transfer Station to wastewater treatment plant number 3 and an amount not to exceed $218,345 for the Department of Public Works. Item 16G is an ordinance authorizing the purchase of ballistic body armor and accessories to outfit newly hired officers and replace expired body armor from Baton Rouge Police Supplies and Barney's Incorporated, Barney's Firearms, utilizing state contract number 409564, and an amount not to exceed $63,750 annually for the Kenner Police Department. Item 16H is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from John Stone Supply for an annual contract to supply air-conditioned filters to be used at various recreation facilities in accordance with seal bid number 13-1504 and an amount not to exceed $13,213.44 per year for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 17 is reports from the council and our special committees.
Okay. Do we have any reports? We're going to have a blood drive at Kenner City Hall. The blood mobile will be behind Building C on Wednesday, October 30th, from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. So come give blood. Councilman Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two things. The first is that I'd like to report that there will be a meeting on Tuesday, October 22nd at the Heritage Hall from 6:30 until 8 p.m. concerning a tentative zoning changes, and this is an information meeting for the residents of South Kenner who live between Maria Street and Decatur Street, and also from Jefferson Highway, Reverend Richard Wilson to Airline. And I would like Mr. Hebert to give a little bit more information about the purpose of this meeting, if he could do that, please.
Sure. The purpose of the meeting is to discuss a draft of a new proposed zoning district that focuses and centers around the airport buyout property, specifically south of Airline Drive. It's to discuss the boundaries, the types of uses permitted, prohibited, and mainly to get input from the citizens and get feedback. And then from that, we'd like to go back and evaluate the draft and make revisions where necessary.
Thank you. And again, I'd like to repeat that this is an opportunity for the residents that live in this area to come out and to ask any and all questions that they may have. Now is the time to do it. I stepped in for a minute briefly at the meeting that was held here last night. I'm not going to go much into that. I'm sure Councilman Stangley will. But it was very well attended, real informative, and a plethora of questions were asked that people may have been not want to talk about, but they did. And it's a good opportunity to come out now and ask the questions now before we go farther into this process. So Tuesday, October 22nd, 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the Heritage Hall in historic Rivertown. The second one is Ms. Terrell had to leave, but she wanted me to pass on some information as it relates to the Martin Luther King Community Center. That also, unfortunately for me, Tuesday, October 22nd at 6:30, the community development will host a community information meeting. As everyone knows, the MLK facility was renovated. It looks fantastic. This is an opportunity not only for the people who live in the Lincoln Manor subdivision, but other people who use the facility for a number of reasons to come out and to see the actual renovations that has happened. There will be representatives from Entergy, Jeff Cap, LA Chip, and the Susan G. Coleman. And as we all know, this is October. This is the month breast cancer awareness. This organization has been very instrumental in addressing a lot of the concerns of our loved ones and friends that are suffering and dealing with this terrible disease, and bringing it to the notoriety that it has today, everything from people in government to athletes. So they will be there also. Energy will be there giving out tubes. I'm sure some of those squiggly, funny-looking light bulbs, they're going to be giving those out. A lot of information from all these organizations will be there, so you get a chance to come out and ask questions, to come out and see. Please come out on that date, and there will be door prizes. So if you need an added incentive, that's one. There will be door prizes. But again, Tuesday, October 22nd, 6:30 at the Martin Luther King Center in the Lincoln Manor subdivision. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. DeNapolis.
I just want to mention, since the last council meeting, actually the administration and Council District 5 had a listening listening session that took place at the Pavilion. And I can tell you it was well attended, and I know that the administration and the mayor are actually doing these in other locations throughout the city, and I think it's worthwhile for the citizens to come out and see, because there's maps, there's things, there's a lot from the administration department there to explain some things. Just find out what what we're doing with your tax money, what the 2030 plan's going to do. And I can tell you it was very informative to my district. It was well attended, and I think the mayor did a great job in presenting, what we're going to be doing in the next several years to improve Kenner, to make Kenner a destination point. And there was one gentleman in the audience that was the really only negative. He says, I moved from Jefferson Parish to Kenner because I found cheap rent, and now what you're doing, Mr. Councilman DeNapolis, is that you're going to cause all the property values to go up. And I said, well, hello. So with that in mind, I can tell you that there's a lot happening. I mean, people see it today with all the road improvements and all the, what we're doing to our sewer systems and everything. And then, of course, you're going to have the 2030 plan on top of that. I mean, nothing could be brighter for Kenner right now. And I do suggest that other districts, when they have these listening seminars, so please attend, because they're very, very informative. And I do want to mention something else. I know Councilwoman Black has this issue about concrete, and I understand when she was born, there were dirt roads, and then when actually concrete was invented, I could see her excitement of it. However, I just wanted to say that there's other materials out there that do just as well. Thank you.
Ken, I think you're on the blacklist. Councilmember Stagney.
Thank you, Mr. President. The last two meetings I've mentioned about 133 properties that they're, based on the DFIRM maps, that their flood insurance would rise. And I've spoken to Mr. Quigley at length a couple of times, and we are in the process of setting up a meeting to bring those residents to a meeting so they can voice their frustration, mainly in the areas where they were X zones in South Kenner that are moving to an AE zone. And it's very odd that that's happening. I know the parish has appealed it, but we want these people to have firsthand opportunity to voice their objection to it. So that's going to occur shortly. Mr. Carroll brought up the airport buyout property, and we did have a meeting yesterday between 70 and 75 people attended. And as he's made the statement, Mr. Carroll, in the past, for a good portion of District 1 and a small portion just east of the airport in District 2, that was the Katrina before Katrina, where neighborhoods were devastated. And the portion mainly from really Airline Highway to 23rd Street, but mainly between 20th and 23rd, was where most of those people came from last night. And I appreciate them showing up. It shows that they have an interest in what's happening in their community. But what we're trying to do as an administration and as a council is trying to make land more attractive to developers, but also balance it with controlled growth, which is compatible with the people who are very close to them. And I think that's very doable, depending on how we go about rezoning this area. To my surprise, there was some residents who wanted to expand the AR2 zoning, which would be more commercial, all the way to Williams Boulevard. Other residents, as they left, were questioning that a little bit, but it seemed like most people there wanted to do that. I had promised them that I will get them the specific information on uses that Mr. Hebert and UNO have come up with, and go from there. And then I will survey the area to see, what the majority of those residents would like. On that topic, speaking about that neighborhood from 20th to 23rd, specifically when the announcement came out about the airport relocating their terminal to the north side, and looking at the maps, and I attended a June 18th scoping meeting where the airplanes are going to be parking behind that terminal, there could be several impacts to that neighborhood. And I submitted on behalf of that neighborhood and some other areas comments regarding air quality, construction impacts, light emissions, and there are a couple of other areas for traffic impacts and drainage as part of the long-term environmental assessment that the airport is doing. I was one of two council members who submitted information. I know Councilman DeNapolis submitted something. I have not seen what he submitted, but it's important that we balance the airport in their expansion, so-called increase in capacity, with what affects our neighborhoods and our citizens. So I can tell you, we're looking at that very, very closely, and we will stay on top of that. One of the sad things that I saw this week was Westminster Towers has been a long-time independent living facility here in Kenner for seniors. And they had elderly ladies out picketing on West Napoleon in Idaho. And it was the saddest thing that I saw. I pulled over, I started talking to them, and they have some issues with the management over there so far as taking away some of their rights as far as congregating in certain areas within the facility. That is a subsidized facility. I know back when Isaac hit several years ago, we had issues. This administration, and I'm the councilman for that area, I had issues with the management over there as far as their evacuation, how they evacuated. And I'm going to ask the city attorney if we can revisit, because I believe that they need to have an evacuation plan in order, or at least look at that again. And I remember Acting Mayor Brannigan, you brought forth some legislation regarding seniors and some of their rights. If you want to tell me about that real quick again. I want to look at, and I don't like government intrusion, but if there's something that this body can do to help protect some of those seniors, I certainly want to do that. Mayor Brannigan, what was the legislation you brought before us?
The legislation accomplished whenever a crime was committed against a senior citizen as defined by state statute, and it was heard in mayor's court, and that the person was found guilty, that they got the mandatory sentence or fine as allowed by law automatically.
Okay.
So if there was somebody being abused or somebody got a simple theft, I guess, could be.
If they were the targeted victim of a crime, we could.
Well, I don't know, as a municipal body, whether we can delve into this. I don't usually go that far, but I may want to sit with you and the city attorney and see if there's something we can do to help ease their pain. You do not see elderly people out there like that doing that very often, and it tells you that they are very aggrieved by what is happening in their living conditions. Another subject, I want to thank Mr. Quigley. Several times, Ms. Patricia Davis has come up and talked about the foliage, grass, leaves, everything else at 30th in Colorado. We've made that complaint every time you've made it to me, and I thank Mr. Quigley because after the last meeting, he spoke to you personally, and now that's been taken care of. So I want to thank the administration. Mr. Gonzalez, and I know I got a litany of things here. I need you to look at something, and I caught it late. The Indiana and Veterans Lift Station, we accepted the bid. Inside the bid, I thought there was like $90,000 for staging. And I know when we did 33rd and Hans, which is a smaller station, the staging was like $25,000. Now, just because they bid it at that level, you all oversee whether they need to use the full $90,000. Is that correct?
It all depends how it was bid. If it was bid as a lump sum item, that's the bid, okay? And then we got to live with that bid. I'm going to have to take a look at it.
Look at that, because I did not catch it at the time. And when I started looking at other things, I'm like, this is a pretty high fee for staging. I thought it was staging. Last thing, Saturday, please get out and vote. There's some renewals on the ballot. There's a judge race on the ballot. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilmember DeFrances. Let's see if I can get you on here. Can you help me, Teresa? It's not. Oh, there you go.
Thank you, Council President. I am actually going to touch on two issues that Councilman Stagney brought up. I actually was out there at Westminster as well and saw those people. And let me tell you, it went beyond just trying to keep them from congregating. They actually removed the furniture in the lobby to make it impossible for the elderly to sit together and congregate. And by congregate, we mean talk, interact with one another. And one of the most important things, having had a very elderly mother who passed away recently, is it's important for the elderly not to feel isolated, to talk to one another. And if you don't allow them that opportunity, depression sets in. So again, they're fighting for their rights. And I will tell you, in addition to that, the coffee shop that's right near Westminster Towers used to be a Dunkin' Donuts, and I happened to be in there one day coming to City Hall to get some coffee first. And there were 3 elderly ladies in there from Westminster who had walked there to have coffee. And they actually told me some of the deeper problems that they're having in preventing people from helping each other and talking to each other at Westminster. So those problems are really, need to be addressed. And again, our elderly can't always fight for themselves. They're doing a great job out there picketing and helping themselves, but I think we have to also take a look and make sure that there are all types of abuse. It's not always just physical, it's also mental sometimes, and we have to make sure that doesn't happen. The second thing I was going to say, I did go to the meeting that Councilman Stagney had, and one of the most interesting, it's been a long night, forgive me, interesting things that happened was that I really was able to pick up a lot of information from from the comments that the people spoke. And sometimes we make assumptions about what people really want, and the reality is quite different. And I think I learned a lot at that meeting about the desires of the people in that area with regard to the buyout land. So I'm going to make every effort also to hear what the people in District 1 want to do concerning that issue. And finally, I just want to thank all the people who participated in Night Out Against Crime. As the police department has often said, it is the people of Kenner that help keep us safe by working with the police department. And by talking to each other and coming out that night and getting to know each other, we're going to make sure that the city continues to be safe. So thank you to everyone who participated, including Ms. Davis, who had a great event as well at Martin Luther King Center. Thank you.
Okay, and I want to say Michelle?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to mention two things. Since this is a month that's going to have 5 Thursdays, so there's things that are going on towards the end of October that we wanted to make mention of. First of all, I want to remind everybody to be careful on Halloween night, that we're going to have a lot of children, hopefully a lot of children out in our streets. But also that morning of October 31st is the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast at Chateau. You can get tickets by calling City Hall. And the speaker is General Russell Honore, so it'll be an honor to have him in our city, and I'm certain he'll be a very interesting speaker. So if anybody would like tickets or any more information, just call the main number, 468-7200, 468-7200, and you can inquire about tickets and tables and sponsorships. Thank you.
Thank you. And because this is the first time I'm up in this seat, I want to thank Natalie and Teresa for helping me work through this, and also Miss Black here, who kept on leaning over and saying, "You're supposed to say this and do this." So, and I got to tell a little story. Yesterday, and she's laughing. Yesterday, I get a phone call, and I'm in the barber chair. I go to my daughter to get my hair cut. So it's Natalie, and she goes, "Good morning." She says, "Do you have a minute?" I said, "Well, I'm actually getting a haircut right now. And can I call you back?" And she said, "Sure, but this is important." She wanted to let me know that I would be chairing the meeting tonight. And so 15 minutes later, the phone rings, and it's Natalie. And I'm going, wait a minute. Does she know that I have that little hair that in 15 minutes I can get my hair cut? So I thought it was funny. But anyway, Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. You did a great job tonight, by the way.
Thank you.
Item 18 is new business, and we have none. Item 19 is unfinished business and/or motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position. We have none. Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
Mr. Al Morella.
Al Morella, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 41 years. Do we have any representatives in here from the Kenner Police Department tonight? Anybody? Okay, well, I got a question, so I'll hold the question till the next meeting. Okay, I want to talk about the items on the agenda with the demolition of these houses. I agree with you, Ms. Black, about the grass, keeping the grass cut, keeping the debris and all out of the yard. But there's a lot of volunteer groups, and I know we got some sincere people with issues like this, and then again, we got some people that's not so sincere. But we got volunteer groups all around this area. Would it be possible for y'all to, the people who need the help, who don't have the resources, that need the repairs on a house, to possibly get some of these volunteer groups to help them like they do in all the other areas around here? Would that be possible for anyone to try to help these people? Because, I mean, you know, you tear down their house, and it's true. I mean, if the house is a safety hazard, then you're right. Something has to be done. But it would seem to me if the person is sincere and they just don't have the resources, maybe we could put them in contact with one of these volunteer groups, because there again, if you tear the house down, they don't have the resources, they leave, every one of them that leaves, that's your tax base that's gone as well. So, you know, maybe we could try to do something like that to try to help them out. We got sincere people, like I said. We got some that's not sincere, but people do need help. Then they got this rip-off looming over their head with this flood insurance. So, you know, it's a lot of things. There's a lot of issues. So if there's anything that we can do to help these people, I think that's the way we should try to do something. And to echo what Councilman Stagney said earlier, Saturday, Election Day, the people who didn't vote early, please get out and vote. Important issues on the ballot. Anything that affects your money, very important. Anybody got any comments, any questions? Thank
Mr.
you.
Conley.
Yeah, I'd like to say, Al, that you brought up a valid point, and that was addressed Monday night at the council's code committee meeting, that for them to go out and seek some volunteers to come in to assist the city and cleaning the city and helping people that can't afford to help themselves. So that idea was broached by the code committee, and they're going forward with it.
And
Okay.
I've done that in my own district, just to let you know. I mean, there were trees that had fallen, and people just didn't have the money, and we went to some of the churches and some of the church groups, and they all participate. And I know that I'm not the only council member that has done that. I'm sure everybody on this council has done that, but thank you.
Anything we can do to help to try to keep our tax base from eroding is, you know, I appreciate it as a citizen of the city.
Thank you. Mr.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Fred Francis? Reba? No, she's not in. Okay, Walt Benetti.
Walt Benetti, 3009 Illinois Avenue in Councilman Stagney's district. Councilwoman Black, haven't had a chance to converse with you lately. Hope your recovery is coming along, and your hip's getting better. No? Knee, I'm sorry. But it was in the same general direction. Councilwoman DeFrancis, sorry for your recent loss. I wanted to echo what Mr. Conley said. We did address that at the code enforcement meeting, to Mr. Morella's point. One other point about the code enforcement meeting that I wanted to note, Mr. Conley and Ms. Newton discussed the fact that the city had re-inspected 120 of the homes on the blighted homes list. And the reclassification of those homes and the proper classification of those homes is important for the Code Enforcement Committee and the city to move forward. So I wanted to note the great work of the Code Enforcement Department. Re-inspecting 120 homes in 2 days is certainly yeoman's work. And so the building inspectors, the code enforcement inspectors, under the direction of Mr. Conley and Ms. Newton, they did a great job. So I wanted to note that and make sure everyone was aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benetti. Okay, so I guess do we have anything else? That motion to adjourn.